Recording na. Hello, good morning everyone. So now you have received our syllabus. This is our appreciation and you already have our syllabus, our course outline, our calendar, our house rules, and the rest of the things that we need to accomplish in this course. And as you have read our course outline and course calendar, we have concrete outputs out of each module or out of its activity that we're going to perform in the class. And I already received your acceptance form wherein you signed. Everybody signed that you agreed on the house rules and syllabus that we have. So we're going to accomplish everything that's in the syllabus, depending on the things that we could finish and accomplish in this during the period. So now let's start with our lesson on art history. Okay, so in every module, of course, we have the objectives. In this topic, in the art history, we're going to identify Philippine, Asian, and Western arts. And we're also going to describe the Philippine, the Asian, and Western arts. We're going to learn how to describe, how to identify, and how to acknowledge the importance of arts as an expression of human being. Okay, so upon learning our objectives, I want you to identify, it's in your PowerPoint that I have sent you, the outline of this art history. We're going to discuss or talk about the beginning of the arts. Second, the Western and Asian art, or the Western art. Third, we're going to discuss about Asian arts. And the last one, we're going to discuss Philippine art history. So previously, as I have told you, you already know what you're going to do in this class. And this is, of course, the beginning of the subject already. So in the beginning of the arts, art has been created 70,000 before Christ or BC and was built with certainty in 40,000 BC, where Homo sapiens made art pieces out of shells, stones, out of their symbolic thoughts. So basically, 70,000 before Christ, we already have arts. We already have products of the art. But the recorded, historically recorded, were manifested in sometime in 40,000 before Christ. So experts say that the oldest artist would be possibly an African who has concrete evidence of 70,000 BC civilization. And the first creation is a soft red stone with lines on it found in Blombos Cave. Perhaps it's found in Africa. So the world's oldest figurative showing wild cattle in a Borneo cave was made at least 40,000 years ago. The world's oldest figurative was found in a cave in the Borneo jungle. So who is the father of modern art? It says that Paul Cezanne is the father of modern art. And he is a French painter and one of the greatest post-impressionist artists whose works and ideas were influential in the aesthetic development of many century artists and art movements, especially Cubism. So he is expert in doing Cubism. We will learn about Cubism later in the middle part of this course. So prehistoric art based on civilization. So there are 4 periods wherein we have wherein our arts or outputs are based on civilization. The first one is Paleolithic civilization. So Paleolithic art was magical, being used in rituals. So these are the things that were found in the caves of the ancient people. They are handicrafts. So all the paintings on the caves, the mark of the hands of the people in the past on the caves, on the walls of the caves and the mountains, and even their carvings on the stones in the oceans or seas, these are called Paleolithic art because it was created during the Paleolithic period and a Paleolithic civilization. So you have seen in my PowerPoint presentation that I've sent you the samples of Paleolithic arts, and you have seen there the figures and the handprints of our ancient civilization on the walls of the caves, or perhaps on the sides or cliffs of the mountains. And then we have the Mesolithic art. So of course, it was based and founded in the Mesolithic civilization. And when you say Mesolithic art, it has different time spans in the different parts of Eurasia. It refers to the final period of hunter-gatherer cultures in Europe and West Asia. So basically, it is also very much relative to the Paleolithic arts, and which are also very common in cave painting and handicrafts. So samples also are shown in the PowerPoint I have given you. So please try to look on that. The figures were made of stones, and also they are also in the caves, walls of the caves and the mountains. The third one is Neolithic art, or it was founded during the Neolithic civilization. The Neolithic civilization period began about 10,000 before Christ. Neolithic painting is similar to paintings found in Northern America. So Neolithic painting is often schematic, made with basic strokes. Materials used in art are ivory, stone clay, and bone. So at this point in time, the first two periods were founded in the caves, and then were made. The materials were made out of the hunting the ancient people made, and they also have the caves, the painting on the caves. But at this point in time, we could see a sudden development of the materials being used, because in the Neolithic, when you say new, that means there's something new with the development. They already use the material, the ivory, the stone, the clay, and the bones. So there's already the existence of the domestic animals that they've used in the past, not only of the hunters, not only of the handicrafts made by the people, but also of the body parts of the animals that are found in the animals, like the ivory of the elephants, the elephant trunks, and then the bones of these animals. And of course, there's still the cave painting. There's now a pottery because of the stone and clay, and the seashell art pieces are shown and created. So also, I have also sent samples of Neolithic arts in your PowerPoint. Okay, so please check on that. And then we have the last one is the Metal Age. And when you say Metal Age, there are three periods in the Metal Age. There's the copper, there's the bronze, and there's the Iron Age. So when you say copper, that means the art materials are made of coppers, and the art are inspired by of course, the life in the past, and the materials are out of copper. And then we have the Bronze Age. Of course, it's very much understandable that when you say Bronze Age, steel, the materials used are bronze, and the last one is the Iron Age, and the materials used in the arts are iron. So we have the Copper Age, the Iron Age, and the Bronze Age, and under Metal Age. So samples of these are also shown in your PowerPoint. So I want you to check on those three. Okay, so in the period of antiquity, after the Paleolithic, after the Mesolithic, Neolithic, the Metal Age, then we have the period of antiquity of civilization. So when there's antiquity, there must be some disturbance. And at that period of time, a lot of things happen, a lot of things in history happened. So the people did not only use the domestic animals, the domestic parts of the animals for arts. They also use other pictures or symbols for communication in writing. Because at that point in the time of antiquity or period of antiquity, they use a lot of symbols for in to communicate or manifest what they wish to express to the community. So basically, they use writings and they use pictures, and they consider all of this as part of the art of the people. So during the period of antiquity, we have the Yahoo symbols. When you say Yahoo symbols, these are pictures of the Neolithic China. So these pictures are being shown to communicate and express what people wish to express at that point in time. Second one is we have the cuneiform. The oldest form of writing was developed in Mesopotamia, written in clay tablets, and it's pictographic, and ideographic. So we have the cuneiform, and it is the oldest form of writing. And then we have the syllable writing. So at first we have the Jiao symbols, which are pictures. We have the cuneiform, which are also symbols, but are already found forms of writings. And then we have the syllable writing developed in Sumeria. So when the people, these are also considered as art in the past. So basically, when you say syllable writing, it is it reflected already the phonology and the syntax. So there's already the development of the structure of the writing. So those writings are part of the art history because it's the beginning of the art. Okay, it's where the people make strokes out of their manual strokes. Then they start writing. So those are considered products or art pieces in the past. Writing is an art, it's a piece of art in the past. Even now, we consider writing as an art. So after syllable writing developed during the time in Sumeria, we have the hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics was developed using pictures. So basically, it's similar with Yahoo symbols. So hieroglyphics, just like we have in our local history, we have when we say hieroglyphics, we have, at first it was called alibata, and now we call this one baybayin, okay? Then after hieroglyphics, in the Philippines it's baybayin, sample is baybayin. Then we have sculpted text with symbols of animals and people. So basically, there are already a combination of the pictures of animals. There's the script, there's the text of symbols of animals and the people. So it's a mixture already. A lot of thoughts, a lot of concepts, a lot of meanings are put together to create communication or to create history. So after sculpted text with symbols of animals and peoples in some materials, next we have the Olmecs. So Olmecs is also considered one of the beginnings of art history. Olmecs, when you look into your history, world history, these are colossal heads. The big heads that you see in the archaeology, in the studies of archaeology, and there are a lot of artifacts that they found in the past, especially in the North America, Central America. So we have this Olmecs. The figure is like a head. It's a big head. It's like a giant head, and also they sculpted some text in these colossal heads, and they made some hieroglyphic decorated items. So they write on the big heads. These are also art figures in the past. So basically, the next one, after having all of those period of antiquity, the next after the period of antiquity, they developed art were of that of Mesopotamian, as it's stated in your PowerPoint. So this Mesopotamian arts was developed in the area between Tigris and Euphrates rivers. And basically, it's in Syria and Iraq, since the 14th millennial BC. So the arts during this time were relief sculptures. Relief, when you say the two-dimensional sculptures that you see on the walls of some old churches, these are relief sculptures. It is embossed. It is a little bit away from the wall, but it's not detached to the wall. So it's a 2D sculpture, relief. It's like there's a figure existing. So relief sculptures were made of wood and stones. At the time, they used wood and stones. And usually when you say relief sculptures, the very common theme is that of religious religious theme. Okay, we see reliefs of the saints on the walls of the church. We see a relief of the gods and goddesses on the walls of the churches. In the past, especially in the Europe, you can see a lot of relief sculptures because they tried to preserve their arts in the past, and these are made of wood and stones. And then we have the military and hunting scenes were produced. So apart from the religious theme that they have in making reliefs, they also have military and hunting scenes. Military, that means they show a lot of men maybe marching, okay, military men marching, and then they also have the hunting scene. So perhaps the artists in the past created reliefs of hunters hunting in the woods. Then after these Mesopotamian arts also have the Hammurabi Code, and this is very, very popular. It is made as a tribute for King Hammurabi, who usually wrote his rules and policies in his kingdom on a tablet. So that's why we have the Hammurabi Code, and it's done by King Hammurabi on a tablet. So that was also considered an art in the past. So after the Mesopotamian art, then there's the development in the Egyptian arts. So when we say Egypt's art, it's also religious and symbolic, and it created a lot of great art in the civilization of the world history. So basically, when you say Egypt's art, you see a lot of pictures and symbols of pharaohs, and you know how they look like. Like the head looks like the head of a lion, okay, and their eyes are having a lot of marks, like it's tinted with black around. So that's how the pharaoh look like, and usually they make arts like this. They paint, and sometimes they sculpt. The reason why they're doing this is because they wanted to express that the Egyptian arts emphasize the concept of immortality. So they make monumental sculptures, big sculptures. That's why they have the Sphinx, the head of a lion, and this Sphinx is the symbol of the pharaoh in Egypt. And they have the pyramid. So it's very big. They make big sculptures. They make monumental sculptures. And you can see also in the arts of Egypt that there's a mixture between, sometimes it's the head of a human and then the body of an animal, or sometimes the head of an animal and the body of a human. So that means there is a connection between the mortals and the immortals. So that's why I said it emphasizes the concept of immortality. So after the Mesopotamian, the Egyptian, and then we also have the Indus Valley civilization. So there are various sculptures, seals, bronze, vessels, pottery, gold jewelry, and there are also like bronze-based materials or art pieces founded from this Indus Valley civilization. So what are these concrete examples? The figurines of cows, dogs, monkeys, and birds, and girls dancing. That's the most prominent in the Indus Valley civilization. The arts of Indus Valley civilization produced dancing girls and made of bronze. Also in terracotta. Okay, so now we're going to know the Western art. So from the very beginning, we have the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and then Middle Age, and then we have the antiquity, the period of antiquity. There are also different arts produced. and then we have the Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and then Indus Valley civilization, and then now we have the Western art. So when you say Western art, the history of art in Americas begins in pre-Columbian times with indigenous cultures. So these indigenous were also classified in the Western art in a pre-classic, classic, and post-classic art. So when you say pre-classic Western art, we have, as I have mentioned a while ago, we have the Olmec, or the colossal heads of the big heads from the monuments built. We have the jade monumental architecture, and then we have the small-scale sculptures and the mosaic design floors. Samples of, it will be shown later on. I will be showing to you, or I will be sending you the actual pictures of this pre-classic Western art. But with the description, the colossal heads, or you could just search in the net, you could see immediately jade monumental architecture, small-scale architecture sculptures, the mosaic design floors. These are pre-classic Western art. And then we have the classic Western art, pre-classic and then classic. When you say classic Western art, this could be an ancient art of the West. So we have the Mayan art, heightened and zoomorphic altars were created. So when we say Mayan art, do you remember the Mayan calendar? So when we say Mayan art, there's this zoomorphic altars were created. That means the altars during the time were filled with what we see now as beasts, but basically they are the divines, they are the divinities in the past. They look like this monster and all, but they aren't. So these are the type of art the Mayan produced during the classic period. And most wonderful works of art were made of jade. Jade are also used in burials and rituals in the classic Western art. So apart from this pieces made of jade and the zoomorphic altars of the Mayan, we also have the complex writing, and Mayan also illuminated manuscripts on papers from tree barks. So there were also writings. Writings was also part of the classic Western art. And then for the post-classic Western art, we have the Aztec society. So as the Aztec civilization also produced an art, and it's under post-classic art, Western art. So they have the sculpture, the painting, and the feather mosaic. So if the classic Western art was fond of the mosaic, or the floor mosaic design floors, this post-classic Western art was also fond of feather mosaic. So you could imagine how they make their art. It must be very amazing looking at them or watching them. So basically after this, those arts in Costa Rica and Panama, a fundamental spiritual tenet was shamanism. So in Costa Rica and Panama, arts are more on the rituals of the shaman. It's the practice and concept of, it manifests the concept and rituals of a shaman. And when you say shaman, it's like the monks on the mountains, and it's equivalent to our babaylan here in the Philippines. So they pray in the mountains, they dance in the mountains, and they pray over the oceans and they dance in the ocean, where people could go into spiritual realm and garner powers to use it on earth. So basically when the practices, the rituals made by the shamans are the one that influence the art somewhere in Costa Rica and Panama. So basically there must be dancing girls, like the babaylan, they were dancing in the woods. So basically the shaman rituals would be like worshiping the ocean, worshiping the sun, or dancing in the mountains and dancing in the woods. So maybe those work of arts, the arts produced at that time were of that figures. So sample works were supernatural beings like serpent, falcon, eagle, and vulture. So all of the things, and they curve. Wood carving was very much evidence, and also sculpting is very much evidence. So arts in Colombia. So we have the arts in Costa Rica and Panama. We also have arts in Colombia. In Colombia, gold was important for its relationship to the divine force of the sun. So you'll see the arts in Panama and Costa Rica are all attached to the divine. Even in the past, the art of the people were all connected to the divinity, to the realm of the divines and the gods and the goddesses. There's the immortal concept, the concept of immortal. So also in the arts of Colombia, then they also have the concepts of immortal, because they try to relate that they are fond of gold, and gold is their number one material in the arts of Colombia. And they consider gold as a material which is very near to the heart of the god, which is very much similar to the color of the sun shining, that's gold. And it relates to the concept of the gods and goddesses. So how the gods and the goddesses shine in the past is how their art shine also in the past, have shown in the past, because they relate it to the color of the sun. Ideologically speaking, the universal is binary according to the concept of arts in Colombia. So there's the male. When you say binary oppositions, most of the products believe in the lightness and the darkness. So maybe when they make their paintings, there's white part of the painting and there's dark part of the painting. So that's the influence of the arts in Colombia. So if there's a male in the figure on the painting, then there must be a female also on the painting. So that's how they conceptualize or create their art pieces during the time. That's how their arts were described. Binary. Okay, binary oppositions. The earth and the spirit worlds, so all of these things. And their number one material is gold. And now, so after that, we have the beginning arts, and then we have the Western art, and then we have the Asian arts. So basically, there are we have a lot of nations or countries in the Asia, and then of course we have our very dear Philippines is in Asia, and then we have Korea, Japan, Laos, Cambodia, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Afro-Asian, all this, what else? But in this, if I'm going to discuss all of those arts, nations art, a lot of time will be spent on that. So I chose, since we're in the Philippines, then we're very much particular with the Philippine arts already, the art pieces in the Philippines. But later on, we'll discuss that at the last part of this PowerPoint presentation. So basically, we have now the Asian arts. I focus on the Indian because it's one of the oldest civilization, and Chinese especially is the oldest civilization in Asia. And then we have the Japanese, because we all know how old how they try to nurture their heritage, Japan. So basically, the Indian, the Chinese, and Japanese art were started out of a pottery. Pottery was prevalent art, and they also did sculptures and paintings, same in the Philippines. For Indian arts, it is Buddha inspired. So Buddhism, it's inspired by Buddhism. And we have different arts. We have 3 periods of arts in India. It's classified in 3 different groups. So, but everything is Buddha inspired. So first we have the Gupta arts. The Gupta Empire established this. The Gupta civilization established the Gupta arts. And of course they manifested also cave painting, and they also have metal works, and then they also have jewelry. Especially Indian people are also fond of jewelry. And then the next one, Gupta arts, and then we have the Kushan arts. The Kushan arts also was produced by Kushan Empire. So remember, a civilization creates an art, creates the culture of making an art. So this Kushan art is founded on the civilization of Kushan Empire, and these are all archaeological structures. There's the sculptures, and they also have, they love having this horse riding archers. The Kushan art, when you see a horse, a man riding a horse with an arch, that's a Kushan art. And they play with the image of a man significantly in their art pieces. And they also like to manifest deformed skulls. The reason why they like to manifest deformed skulls, deformed, it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look nice. Deformed skulls, why? Because it is the influence of their prince, uh, Kal Chayan. Prince Kal Chayan. So Prince Kal Chayan is a Kushan prince, wherein he is the one who influenced the people to create deformed skulls. And then we have the Mathura arts. So Mathura arts is also Buddhist Buddha inspired art pieces. They have the visual arts, of course. Maybe they are paints of Buddha faces, and then we have their Buddha sculptures. So usually when you say Buddha sculptures, if you see the sculptures in Thailand, then these are freestanding sculptures, the icons, the monumental sculptures of Buddha, the monasteric and prayer hall. You can see a lot of Mathura arts. The prayer hall of the Buddhist temples, the Buddhist temples, the freestanding Buddha sculptures. These are all samples of Mathura arts. So in Indian arts, we have the Gupta arts, the Kushan arts, and the Mathura arts. And then we have, so those arts are from India, and then we have the Chinese art here in the Philippines, of course, in Asia, of course. So in Chinese art, they love painting. As you could see, they love calligraphy. Calligraphy is very much similar to our writing. It's also similar to the symbols in our hieroglyphics. They like calligraphy. They like writing. So it's also a form of art in Chinese civilization or Chinese culture. And they make portraits and landscapes, and they usually paint on cloth. That's their material. And then we have the decorative arts. The decorative arts that they have are seen on their burials and ritual practices. So sometimes maybe in the niches of their dead ones, we could see this in temples, and in the altars of their dead ones, you could see all of these decorative arts. And you could easily distinguish a Chinese art because it loves the color red, and it's very colorful, and it's very symbolic. And then they also have gold and silver in their arts, and they love to use the mother pearls. Okay, so you could also see our Chinese arts in our kitchen. We have the ceramics, the porcelain, the ivory. So you could see all of this classic style, classic decors, the big jars, the ceramic jars in the living room, in our living room, the stone made of jade. All of these things are materials from Chinese art. And the next one, we have the Japanese art. Japanese art covers a wide range of art styles and media, including pottery, sculpture, painting, and calligraphy. So same with Chinese, Japanese are also fond of writing, and it's considered as one of their arts. So they love to use the materials silk and paper. And ukiyo-e paintings and wood block prints are very popular in Japan, Japanese arts, and they also use ceramics like with Chinese people. And one of the most famous art pieces that they have are origami. Okay, the paper work that they do, they love to make figures out of the paper, and it's called origami. And one apart from origami, Japanese arts very prominent pieces or artistic style is the manga. So we know that this is the comic style of the Japanese people, and of course it's their art. So now we move to the Philippine art history. So we're done with the beginning of the arts. like from the Paleolithic down to Mesopotamia, down to West arts, and then we have the Asian art. And then, of course, we also have to boil down to focus a little bit on Philippine art history. So basically, we have two classifications of Philippine art history, traditional and non-traditional. So there are several classifications for traditional one. We have the folk architecture. And when you say architecture, we all know that it's a structure. So basically, it's the products are the houses. So the folk architecture, good sample or prominent example of folk architecture is the Bahay Kubo and the Bahay Kubo in the Philippines. And when you say Bahay Kubo, they have the Akir designs. The Bahay Kubo in the past have the Akir designs, especially the Bahay Kubo or Torogan. Okay, they have like a wavy designs. And apart from the Bahay Kubo, we also have the Bahay na Bato. So that's folk structure, folk architecture, sample of folk architecture. And then the second one is maritime transport. So when you say maritime transport, it is very much popular during that time. Why? Because these are balangays, these are boats. These are bangka houses, boat houses. So they are already considered as traditional art of the people, and they use this as a transportation in the past. So they usually make these boat houses their houses already, not just means of transportation, but they also sleep in those boat houses because at that point in time, the Philippines is, of course, the Philippines has been is archipelagic. It's an archipelago. So basically, they use boat houses. And then we have the weaving. So weaving is part of the traditional art history wherein the people make handicrafts like looms, basket, headdress, fishnet. Okay, so the traditional art of the people is not far from the domestics that they make in the past, that they do in the past. Apart from the weaving, we have also the carvings. So these carvings are made up of non-clay or it could be made of wood. So apart from this folk architecture, the maritime transport, the weaving, the carving, we also have the folk performing arts. So they also dance, they also recite poems, they also play dramas, they also did all of these things, performing arts to entertain the people. And one of they also make rituals, they entertain people. These are performing arts, folk performing arts. And good sample or prominent example of these are the Balagtasan and Pasyon. So now we move to Pasyon. Yeah, that's a sample. And then we have folk graphic and plastic arts. So apart from those first traditional art they also have folk graphic and plastic arts. So samples of these are, of course, calligraphy also, and they have tattooing and folk painting. Folk painting is the body painting, and when they do some street dancing in the past, like the ati-atihan, so that's folk. They make paintings in the body. That's folk painting, and it's called folk graphic, and it's part of the traditional art history. And then the next one, we have the ornamental textile and fiber. So again, it's manifested in the ati-atihan where they make giant hats like the gigantes. You can see all those. The mask that they made for ati-atihan, the accessory and ornamental metal creations that they make for these rituals and festivals. And then they also have the pottery. Pottery, of course, they have the pots made of clay. Of course, it's almost all the time made of clay. But of course, during the Stone Age, it's made of stone. And then we have the traditional cultures. It's also part of the Philippine art history, the traditional Philippine art history, the healing, the rituals, the medicinal arts are also part of this history. The reading of the constellation, the reading of the traditions and practices of the people in the past, and the practices of the Babaylan, the healing rituals. All of these are traditional cultures which are also considered arts of the people in the past. And it's traditional. And now, since our course is art appreciation, now we have the non-traditional art history, and basically it's already the composition of our art appreciation subject. So in non-traditional art history, we have the dance, of course. I don't have to elaborate so much on the dance. Everybody's dancing. Everybody dances. Everybody knows how to dance. So basically, we have when you dance, you have the music. We have the direction, dance direction, and then you have the dance performance and choreography. There are a lot of body moves which dances with the rhythm of the music. So there's also the music, including but not limited to musical composition. Of course, when there's a dance direction, there's also music direction and musical performance. And then after that, dance, music, and then we have the theater, including but not limited to theatrical directions. If there's dance direction, there's music direction, there's also theatrical direction. And that includes production design, theatrical lights, the sounds, the music, the playwriting, okay, the production design. These are the elements found in the theater, and it has to be looked into it. It has to be studied if you wanted to know more about theater. And then we have the visual arts. Of course, the very prominent, very famous visual art, of course, is the painting. Okay, and the next is sculpture, and then there are a lot. We don't only have painting as a visual art, but we have the sculpture, we have the printmaking, we have the photography, we have the installation art, we have the mixed media work, illustration, graphic arts, performance art, and imaging. Why in the performance art? Because we see a lot of some paints on the bodies of the artists. These are also visual arts, and imaging. So we have the dance for non-traditional. We have the dance, music, theater, visual arts, which could be found in your art appreciation class. And then, of course, we will never lose of literature. Literature will always be there because it's based, all of these dramas, all of these performances are based on literature, okay? You cannot create a dance, you cannot create a music without your literature. There must be a text first. So the dance instructor or the dance director will read something and then try to teach people how to dance. And then the music director has to read something and then teach the people how to sing. And then the theater director will read something, that's our literature, and then teach the people how to do theaters. So literature is inevitable in art appreciation, in art history, okay? And it's non-traditional. So basically when you say literature, including but not limited to poetry, fiction, essay, literary, art criticism, all of these are literatures. And then we have the film and broadcast art. The films is also connected with the theater. So in film, it's made in the film. So from the theater, they created a film out of that. So basically, it's coming from the book, that's the literature, and then turned to the theater, that's drama on stage. And then they try to make it a movie out of that. It's a film already. So there's interconnection and intertwined. These non-traditional arts are all intertwined together. So after film and broadcast arts, you also have the architecture and allied arts. Architecture will never be out of place because when you build your production design, of course, there's architecture in that. When you make your stage, there's an architecture for that. So when you make a movie, you create a big house, you have to design a small house used for the drama or play, and it will be filmed. Then there's architecture is found in every part of our non-traditional art. So that's basically found. These are basically elements that are found in our art appreciation class. And of course, we have the design. So we have the fashion design, and then we have the industrial design. But design in this place is part of this non-traditional, but it's not included in our art appreciation. So we have all in all 7 fields of art that we're going to study in our art appreciation. So basically, that's the history of the beginning and the middle and the contemporary history of how art began in the world. Now we covered all the art histories, its development, designs and styles used, including the media being utilized, And hopefully, after reviewing and listening from me and reviewing the PowerPoints that I have sent you with figures and images on it of this art, samples of this art, then by the time, maybe you will be able to absorb everything. Hopefully, you are aware and amazed with what we have discussed. And I hope everybody listened well and listened good. And in the next, you could see the last part of my PowerPoint. Then there's, we have the week, September 4th week activity there. It's September 4th, but there's a mistake. September 4th week activity. So there are questions sent to you. There were questions sent to you. And apart from the activity for the discussion, there's also the assignment, a take-home test. So basically, I'm giving you 10 days to work in this one within 10 days. But if you have reasons, valid reasons why you can't finish it within 10 days, then please try to post your question on, try to send me a message or post your question on our GC. I have given everything, my Yahoo mail, my Gmail, Sideshi account, and I can also be contacted on the Facebook. And we are chatting all the time, so there's no problem with this one. The rubric is also manifested there. You have the scoring rubric for all the assignments and take-home tasks that I'm giving you. The content is 25%, organization is 25%, clarity is 25%, significance, relevance, or impact is 25%, that makes up 100%. And technical aspect, it should be 100 to 150 words in A4, but if you're going to submit in hard copy, it should be A4, Arial, 12, 1.5 spacing, 1111 margin. And then there, so we already discussed that there's a leader trying to compile everything, and then that leader will submit to your Gmail, Sideshi account. And please do not forget to ask questions. If you are hesitant to post your question on the group chat, then please PM me. I'm always available. You can post your question any time of the day, but please expect that I will be answering everything the following early morning because I'm nocturnal. So I will answer all your questions for clarification, for some clarifications, and I would like everybody to understand our lesson well. So please listen good and listen well when I explain things. And the reason why I'm doing the video, because I want to reach out to everyone so that you will understand our lesson well. So there's a good vibes line. For every presentation that I'm sending you, I am sending you also a good vibes line. It says here, art is the journey of a free soul. So art is the journey of a free soul. So I hope you got the point of this line by Aleb August. Again, happy Monday, everyone. I love you all. God bless us. And please enjoy art appreciation.